Yo, what's up, you guys? This is Andre Genshin here, and today we're gonna do the 2023 NFL season predictions. The NFL almost start the regular season will begin in week 1. We're kicking off in Kansas City as Detroit Lions take on Kansas City Chiefs. But first, it was a Hall of Fame between the Cleveland Browns and New York Jets. We're still in August 2023. We'll find out the new NFL season. So last season, this is the third time in the season in 2021, 2021, 2020, 21, 22. Now to make it for the fourth time in a row, we'll have a season predictions. My cough is very sweet and happen. For the fourth time, I'm gonna make a season predictions. As well, we're gonna do a week predictions until start of August or September. Will be going to start off. We'll find out and to see the new NFL season. We are almost there. The NFL season will begin in September 2023. We're kicking off with Detroit Lions take on Kansas City Chiefs. By the rules, the division will have every alphabet will be having any NFL team will have a division teams based on the alphabets. So now let's get started. Start off with the AFC East. Alright, start off with the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills in the last season 30-3. They only have one no contest between Cincinnati Bengals, which is because of Darmar Harmon is collapsed for cardiac arrest and Way will return the season in 2023. Can wait to return of Darmar Harmon. And yesterday I saw Bronny James who announced it will be collapsed the cardiac arrest. Instead, he died. When it's not a die, it was during the practice. So, similar of Darmar Harmon collapsed in the cardiac arrest. So, hope Darmar Harmon will be returned in next season. So, Buffalo Bills take on the New York Jets. A start of the prime time of Monday Night Football will be great matchup for you. Buffalo Bills is not yet done the Super Bowl. What they gonna take care of his business? But the team, I don't think really if you want to do the Buffalo Bills fans, and we want the Buffalo Bills are last season finished with 13-3, and then wrap it up the divisional round against the Cincinnati Bengals. They lost in the AFC divisional round. So down the Buffalo Bills are gonna go the first place in the AFC East and continue. We're going to 13-4. So the Buffalo Bills are 13-4 on the record. So the first place goes to Buffalo Bills. Are gonna take it 13-4. Divisions have 5-1. Conference are 9-3, and the home is 8-1. Away have 5-3. So I'm gonna take the Buffalo Bills to win the first place and win the AFC East. Next up is the Miami Dolphins. Alright, so the Miami Dolphins fans is the second one is the alphabet. Miami Dolphins. They made the playoffs last year. They lost to the Buffalo Bills in the AFC wildcard, despite the start of 8-3 as of week 13. The Miami Dolphins are coolest matchup. Tua Tagovailoa wants to try and go back in the playoffs. They want to try to get up. So we're gonna set. I'm not gonna make it to the playoffs as the Miami Dolphins will not make it to the playoffs. I'm gonna give 8-9. So the Miami Dolphins are 8-9 and did not make it to the playoffs as the 8-9. So Miami Dolphins are in 8-9, did not enter the playoffs. So that means are in the 8-9 trouble. So the Miami Dolphins is not make it to the playoffs. Next up is the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots in the last season 8-9 almost make it to the playoffs because the Patriots lose to Buffalo Bills along the Miami Dolphins enter the playoffs beating New York Jets last season. The New England Patriots in the last 2 years ago they make it into the playoffs in 2021 against the Buffalo Bills. They lose in the AFC wildcard team. The Patriots, there's by the Mike Jones still in trouble, I'm gonna give say I'm gonna go. The Patriots are 7-10. I'm gonna give 7-10 for the Patriots. So the Patriots are 7-10 and did not make it to playoffs. Mark Jones did not make it to playoffs again for the second time. In the over 2020, the Patriots are not in the playoffs. 7-10 because of Tom Brady is out in the Patriots in 2019. So now, next up, finally the last team of the AFC East is the New York Jets. Alright, so the New York Jets, it's the good team. New York Jets is the scariest team because of Aaron Rodgers in the lineup. Will make it his debut against the Buffalo Bills and the return of Sunday Night Football in the prime time against the Kansas City Chiefs and Las Vegas Raiders. New York Jets in last season 7-10, they collapsed as a week 13. They collapsed in 7-10, did not make it to the playoffs. The last time the New York Jets have made it to the playoffs, it was in 2010, who they made to the AFC Championship game against the Steelers. They lost the AFC Championship game. Well, right now, finally, I'm gonna give Aaron Rodgers. I'm gonna give 11-6, or at least 11-6 or 10-7. I'm gonna give 11-6 as the New York Jets will make it to the playoffs. So the New York Jets is 11-6. Very good in 11-6 for the New York Jets. Our great team, the Aaron Rodgers in the lineup, and because of the New York Jets is very scary. New York Jets are scary, and they have Aaron Rodgers in the lineup. So I'm gonna go New York Jets 11-6. Now let's move on the AFC North, starting off with the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens is the next team. The Baltimore Ravens are very trouble last 2 years. They lost to the Steelers in the final game in 2021. Ravens are start 9-3 I think, or 8-3 I think. So the Ravens make it the playoffs last year. They lose to Cincinnati Bengals in the wild card round. Baltimore Ravens at the 6th seed, and then this time the Ravens in the playoffs and make it. So this time the Baltimore Ravens are a great match with Lamar Jackson. I'm gonna give the Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. I'm gonna go 10-7, 10-7. Alright, Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens are 10-7. So can make it to playoffs if we make it 10-7. If they do make it to playoffs, if the Baltimore Ravens, I'm gonna give 10-7 the playoffs. So I'm gonna go the Ravens 10-7. Next up is the Cincinnati Bengals. Alright, the Cincinnati Bengals. Last year they get to the AFC Championship for the second straight year before they lose in a rematch against Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship. Bengals have not won a Super Bowl in franchise history as part of two lost by the NFC West, San Francisco 49ers, and the Los Angeles Rams. So with the Cincinnati Bengals, they can try good with Joe Burrow's team are very good. So I'm gonna give the Cincinnati Bengals going to 14-3. Alright, the Cincinnati Bengals are 14-3. Bengals are trying to get out to get the Bengals team to 14-3. So the second place is Cincinnati Bengals. Up next is the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are not very trash team. Cleveland Browns are great series in the Cleveland Browns fans. I'm gonna say Cleveland Browns are gonna give 4-13 or 5-12. I think make sure. I don't think I'm going to 4-13. So I'm gonna give Cleveland Browns a 4-13. Will not make it to playoffs. I'm gonna give NFL draft. So I'm gonna go the Cleveland Browns for 4-13. So the Cleveland Browns are 4-13 and not making the playoffs is the worst record. So I'm gonna give the Cleveland Browns are not in the playoffs. Next up is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the last team. They did not make it playoffs. Kenny Pickett is almost making it to the playoffs before they starting. I believe it's week 15. I believe week 15. Yes, I believe week 15. The Steelers won It's very good. The Steelers fans are trying to get out in the playoffs. So the Steelers, they're trying to make it to the playoffs, almost get in the playoffs because the Miami Dolphins won. The Steelers did not make it again. So, this time for the second time, I'm gonna go Pittsburgh Steelers will not make it to the playoffs. I'm gonna give 8 and 9 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Pittsburgh Steelers in 8 and 9 did not enter the playoffs as the ninth seed. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not in the playoffs again, 8 and 9. So the Pittsburgh Steelers will make it to the playoffs as 8 and 9. So they will not make it to the playoffs. So the AFC North wraps up. Next up is the AFC South, starting off with the Houston Texans. Alright, Houston Texans. The last did not make it the playoffs because the worst record is trash. Texas is a trash and they won the first pick in Halliburton. Instead, Carolina Panthers won the first pick and because of the trade for the Texans. So I'm gonna go the Houston Texans are gonna trash. I'm gonna go either 116 or 215. Let's go with 215. I'm gonna go 215. Alright, Houston Texans are 2-15 and did not make it to the playoffs as the worst record for the Houston Texans. Up next is the Indianapolis Colts. So the Indianapolis Colts did not make it to the playoffs for the second time and finished up 4-12-1. Did not make it to the playoffs for the second straight after losing the start of the week 12 up to week 18. Almost week 15 because the Indianapolis Colts, they won it because the Minnesota Vikings are comeback, the largest comeback in NFL history. So this time, I'm going to give Indianapolis Colts will not make it to the playoffs. I'm going to go 9-8. So the Indianapolis Colts are 9-8. Did not make it to the playoffs. I hope so. Even Chargers are at least I'm gonna give Chargers gonna give the Colts. So will not make it to the playoffs as the Indianapolis Colts 9-8. So next up is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville Jaguars is very cool. The Jaguars make it the playoffs as a 9-8 after a week 13 and week 14 a good chase for the Jaguars, who surprisingly led by Trevor Lawrence, and they make it the playoffs as a 4 seed before they lose to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC divisional round. So Jacksonville Jaguars have never played either Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football. As week 15, they played Sunday Night Football against Baltimore Ravens and the Monday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals. So, I'm gonna go Jacksonville Jaguars will make it the playoffs, go to 12-5. So, the Jacksonville Jaguars are gonna give 12-5. Will make it to the playoffs. As the Jacksonville Jaguars will make it to the playoffs. Will make it to the playoffs again for the second time. Shout out for Peter Jaguars in the YouTube channel. I hope for Peter Jaguars we're still in the longest upload due to the break. So I hope we're not yet upload until playoffs in January next year. So I'm gonna go Jacksonville Jaguars with 12-5. And finally is the Tennessee Titans. Alright, the Tennessee Titans. Last season, they missed the playoffs 7-10 as they collapsed in week 13, including the week 16 upset by the Houston Texans loss to Texans at Christmas. So Tennessee Titans are 6-5. So we're not gonna make it to playoffs. I think either 7-10 or 8-9. We're gonna go 8-9 as the Tennessee Titans will not make it to the playoffs. We did not sure the Tennessee Titans will not make it to the playoffs. We're gonna go 8-9. Tennessee Titans are 8-9. So the 10th place will not make it to the playoffs for the second straight year. So I'm gonna go Tennessee Titans and 8-9 as the AFC South wraps up. Next up is the AFC West, starting off with the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos did not make it to playoffs. I think it's 4-13 or 5-12. I think 5-12. I'm sure. So Denver Broncos are the worst super team. Did not make it to the playoffs. The last time they made it to the playoffs in Denver Broncos, it was the 2015. Who still Peyton Manning. So Watson Wilson will make it a second year. I don't think sure the Denver Broncos will not make the playoffs. I'm gonna give 5-12 or 6-11. I'm gonna get 5-12 again, once again for the Denver Broncos. Alright, Denver Broncos are 5-12 and did not make it to playoffs again. So I'm gonna give Denver Broncos are gonna give 5-12. Next up is the Las Vegas Raiders. That's not Las Vegas Raiders. It is the Kansas City Chiefs. Alright, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs, they won a Super Bowl last year. They beat Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 57, 38-35 to give the Chiefs win the third Super Bowl title. So this time, the Kansas City Chiefs are the good, scary team. The Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. So the last time Kansas City Chiefs did not make it to playoffs, it was at 2014. Because of the Ravens make it to the playoffs in 2014. So I'm gonna give Kansas City Chiefs. We're gonna go 50-2. So the Kansas City Chiefs are gonna go 50-2. So we'll make it number one seed and we'll have the bye week. So the Kansas City Chiefs are 50-2. Next up is the Las Vegas Raiders. So the Las Vegas Raiders did not make the playoffs again. Last 2 years ago, the Las Vegas Raiders are making the playoffs in 2021. They lose to Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC wildcard. Derek Carr is still in the lineup here. Devontae Adams, the Las Vegas Raiders, is now in the lineup. So I'm gonna go the Las Vegas Raiders with a 6-11. Will not make it to the playoffs, as the Raiders did not make it to the playoffs. I'm gonna go Las Vegas Raiders. And the Las Vegas Raiders are 6-11, and we're gonna not make it the playoffs for the Las Vegas Raiders. And finally, we're wrapping the AFC team. It's the AFC West team for the Los Angeles Chargers. Alright, we wrap up the AFC team for the LA Chargers. The LA Chargers make it the playoffs last year before they lose to Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC wildcard round. Justin Herbert announced he will be still with the Los Angeles Chargers 5-year extension. So I'm going to keep Los Angeles Chargers will make it to the playoffs. Will make it to the playoffs for the LA Chargers. I'm going to give 10-7. So the Chargers will make it to the playoffs. Alright, the LA Chargers will make it to the playoffs. The 6th seed, the LA Chargers, will make it to the playoffs. And now they're set up in the AFC playoff jobs. Great series. Here's the AFC final standings. Here's my final AFC standings. Chiefs number 1. Bengals are number 2. The Bills is number 3. The Jaguars is number 4. The Jets is number 5. The Chargers and Ravens are tied with 10-7. So 6-7. The Colts, Dolphins, Steelers, and the Titans are missing out in the playoffs. And now it's time for NFC side. It's time for the NFC team. Starting off with the NFC East with the Dallas Cowboys. So the Dallas Cowboys, they make it to playoffs for the second straight year. The Cowboys make it to playoffs as a 5th seed, and we won the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC wildcard before they lose to San Francisco 49ers in the NFC division round. Dak Prescott, I think Cowboys are going to give here the playoff word. So I'm gonna give Dallas Cowboys will make it to playoffs, and I'm gonna go 13-4, 12-5. I'm gonna give the Cowboys go to 13-4. All right, the Dallas Cowboys are 13-4, led by Dak Prescott. Will make it to the playoffs again. For Dallas Cowboys fans, I'm gonna go here to 13-4. For the Dallas Cowboys, who's gonna get in. The Dallas Cowboys are in the playoffs for the third time. I hope we get ready for the Cowboys again. So I'm gonna go Dallas Cowboys with 13-4. Next up is the New York Giants. Alright, the New York Giants are making the playoffs as the 6th seed. Last year, they make it the Giants in the playoffs. They upset the Minnesota Vikings and they lose to Philadelphia Eagles. So the New York Giants are the last season. They start off with the best record. New York Giants are week 8. I think week 8, no, I think week 8. Yes, week 8. New York Giants are in the scariest part. Daniel Jones and Shaquin Barkley in a good. So, I'm gonna give the New York Giants to in the playoffs go to 10-7. So I'm gonna go New York Giants with 10-7 will make it to the playoffs. Alright, the New York Giants are gonna give 10-7 will make it to the playoffs. New York Giants are the last record the New York Giants are make it to 10-7. So I'm gonna go the New York Giants are gonna make it to the playoffs. I'm gonna give 10-7. Next up is the Philadelphia Eagles. Alright, the Philadelphia Eagles are the undefeated in the starting week 9. They start off with the week 9 Philadelphia Eagles, the undefeated before the first loss against the Washington Commanders. The Philadelphia Eagles are a good team, scary. Jalen Hurts are gonna give the Philadelphia Eagles make it to the playoffs. So I'm gonna give the 14-3 as the NFC East title for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm gonna go 14-3. We wrap it up for the Philadelphia Eagles to end the playoffs. Alright, the Philadelphia Eagles are gonna go 14-3 with the best record. Jalen Hurts last season. They made it to Super Bowl. They lose to Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl 57. So I'm gonna go the Philadelphia Eagles 14-3. And the last team, the NFC East, wraps up with the Washington Commanders. Alright, the Washington Commanders and the team with the 0-11. So the Washington Commanders did not make it. It's the worst collapse ever in the Washington Commanders series. So I'm going to give the Washington Commanders, again, will not make it to playoffs. I'm going to give 5-12 for the Washington Commanders. Alright, the Washington Commanders are 5-12 and they not make it to playoffs again. So I'm going to give Washington Commanders, this is not time the Washington Commanders will not make it to playoffs. So I'm going to go the Washington Commanders with 5-12. Next up for the NFC North, the Chicago Bears is next. So the Chicago Bears, the matching and number seen this as the Chicago Bears fans are not making the playoffs as the worst team. Did not make it to playoffs. Last made it to playoffs it was the 2020. Chicago Bears in the playoffs. The Chicago Bears and then team of the Chicago Bears fans. I'm gonna give Chicago Bears did not make it to playoffs. I'm gonna go to 7-10 for the Chicago Bears. I'm gonna give the Chicago Bears with 7-10. Alright, the Chicago Bears are 7-10. They did not make it to playoffs for Chicago Bears. Even the Bears fans are trying to get a 7-10. So I'm gonna go the Chicago Bears with 7-10. And next up is the Detroit Lions. Alright, the Detroit Lions did not make it to the playoffs last year. They lose to Seattle Seahawks they win the Green Bay Packers. I'm so sorry. Excuse me. So the Detroit Lions last game of the regular season against the Green Bay Packers, but did not make it to playoffs as the Seattle Seahawks are in the playoffs. The Detroit Lions have never won the playoff game since 1991. So Detroit Lions are gonna give 11-6 I'm gonna give I'm gonna give 11-6 for Detroit Lions. Will make it to the playoffs. I'm gonna go. The Detroit Lions are gonna give 11-6. All right, Detroit Lions are 11-6 in the team and they make it to the playoffs. So the 11-6, the Detroit Lions will make it to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. So the Detroit Lions will have the quarterfinal in the playoffs. Next up is the Green Bay Packers. All right, the Green Bay Packers the last season did not make it to the playoffs, and the final game they lose. The Detroit Lions allowed the Seahawks are in. So the Green Bay Packers the last game without Aaron Rodgers. This is the first time the Aaron Rodgers was not in the roster. This was very impressive. So I'm gonna give the Green Bay Packers to not make it playoffs again. I'm gonna give 8-9 for the Green Bay Packers. So the Green Bay Packers we're gonna go 8-9. All right, so the Green Bay Packers are 8-9, and did not make it the playoffs again without Aaron Rodgers. This is the first time the Green Bay Packers without Aaron Rodgers. So I hope to see Green Bay Packers. I hope they not make it the playoffs for the Green Bay Packers. So I'm gonna go Green Bay Packers with 8-9. And finally, we wrap the NFC North is the Minnesota Vikings. So, the Minnesota Vikings, last season, they make it to playoffs and they won the NFC North title before they lose to New York Giants in the NFC wildcard. The Minnesota Vikings are the great hot start. They started 5-1, I think. I think the Minnesota Vikings, they in the third seed. So the Minnesota Vikings are the good teams. The scary Minnesota Vikings fans from the team of the Kings. So, I'm gonna go. The Vikings are in the playoffs. 10-7, tied with the New York Giants. So I'm gonna go to Minnesota Vikings with 10-7. All right, the Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs, so they didn't make it to the playoffs for the Minnesota Vikings. So as the Vikings fans are gonna take care of the business and really go for the Minnesota Vikings with 10-7. And now it's time for the NFC South, starting off with the Atlanta Falcons. So the Atlanta Falcons last season did not make it to the playoffs. So the Falcons fans are very not happy. So the Falcons last time they made it to the playoffs, it was 2017, a long years. Atlanta Falcons are six. They won against LA Rams before they lose to Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm not again for the Falcons fans. I'm not gonna make it to the playoffs for the Atlanta Falcons. I'm gonna go the Falcons do not make it. I'm gonna give 6-11. I'm gonna go 6-11. Atlanta Falcons are the 6-11. It did not make it to playoffs again for the Atlanta Falcons. I'm gonna go the Atlanta Falcons with 6-11. Next up is the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers in last season did not make it to playoffs for the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers is a great team. Last time the Carolina Panthers are in the playoffs, it was a 2017 before they lose to the New Orleans Saints. So I'm gonna go. The Carolina Panthers will give in to the playoffs. So I'm gonna go 10-7 for the Carolina Panthers. All right, the Carolina Panthers are 10-7 and they'll make it to the playoffs. Can get in the Carolina Panthers fans are 10-7. So I'm gonna go the Carolina Panthers with 10-7. Next up is the New Orleans Saints. So the New Orleans Saints last season did not make it playoffs for the second time in a row. The Saints fans are crazy. The Saints fans are not making the playoffs again. So I'm gonna give the Saints or the not team again. So I'm gonna send the New Orleans Saints are gonna go 7-10 or 8-9, I think. So I'm gonna go 8-9 for the New Orleans Saints. So the New Orleans Saints are 8-9 and did not make it the playoffs again. So I'm gonna give New Orleans Saints with Alvin Kamara. I hope the New Orleans Saints are not that real okay. They did not make it the playoffs. So I'm gonna go the New Orleans Saints with 8-9. And next, we'll wrap it. The NFC South is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Alright, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not make it the playoffs. And he didn't make it. He make it the playoffs. Tom Brady's the final season. It was a retirement for Tom Brady as they lost to the NFC wildcard by the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm gonna give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who are not making the playoffs as the worst team. I'm gonna go to the 15. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not make it the playoffs for the first time since 2019 for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm gonna go the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with 2 to 15. And now for the last one is the NFC West. We're starting off with the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals in the last season, the worst record team for the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals didn't make it to the playoffs. Worst record starting off. I think the Arizona Cardinals didn't make it to the playoffs. It was in 2021 before they lose to LA Rams. So I'm gonna give the Arizona Cardinals with 1 to 16. So the Arizona Cardinals is the 1 in 16 and do not get to the playoffs for the Arizona Cardinals fans. Arizona Cardinals is very trash. It's 1 to 16. I'm gonna go with the Arizona Cardinals are 1 to 16. Next up, number 2 is gonna be the LA Rams. Alright, the LA Rams last season did not make it the playoffs as the defending champions. The LA Rams are trash. So this team, the Rams, are very bad team. The LA Rams fans, the Los Angeles Rams last season. The Rams are not make it after they won the Super Bowl 56. I hope for LA Rams okay, so I hope Los Angeles Rams will make it to the playoffs next year. So I'm not making the playoffs, so I'm gonna go with the LA Rams with 4 to 13. So the Rams are in the playoffs 4 to 13. Great team for the LA Rams. That was a second straight year for the LA Rams. I think the Los Angeles Rams, I believe, did not make it the playoffs last season. So the Rams are not making the playoffs for the second straight season. Baker Mayfield did not make his trade for Carolina Panthers and the LA Rams. Next up is the San Francisco 49ers. We'll wrap it up, and the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to wrap it up for the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. Alright, San Francisco 49ers last season. They made it to the NFC Championship game for San Francisco 49ers squad. And in the playoffs in the second seed, they won the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC wildcard. They beat Dallas Cowboys in the NFC divisional round, and they lost to the NFC Championship game to Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm gonna give Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey and the San Francisco 49ers gonna make it to playoffs again. I'm gonna go 15 to 2. So the 49ers are the last team. For 15 and 2, the Seahawks are gonna give 6 and 11. Let's check. The Seahawks is in the Seahawks in the 6-11 and did not make it to the playoffs for Seattle Seahawks 6 and 11. And now it's time for the final NFC standings. Number 1, 49ers. Number 2, Eagles. And number 3, Detroit Lions. 4, 6, and 7 tied with Carolina Panthers, the New York Giants, and the Minnesota Vikings. And the 5th seed goes to Dallas Cowboys. And now it's time to end the playoffs. Now it's time for the playoffs. Here's the draft order at list. It's the list of draft order. Let's see the list of draft order. Let's check in the mind going to week 18. We're starting off with the playoffs but first, let's check the draft order. What is this going on draft order? So the draft order is gonna be Arizona Cardinals. So we're gonna go draft order for the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think sure. So now it's time for the playoffs. Starting off with the wild card round, we got the New York Jets take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Aaron Rodgers takes on Trevor Lawrence. I'm gonna take it easy here. I'm gonna go. The New York Jets will defeat Jacksonville Jaguars to move on for the divisional round. Next up is the Buffalo Bills take on the Cincinnati Bengals. It's not wrong. It's wrong. Excuse me. Next up is the Los Angeles Chargers take on the Buffalo Bills. And this guy, great victory for the Buffalo Bills. And ain't sure for the Buffalo Bills fans. I'm gonna go Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills will defeat the Los Angeles Chargers. We'll move on. And then the rematch of the AFC wildcard game featuring two division rivals in the AFC North. Baltimore Ravens take on Cincinnati Bengals. I'm gonna go Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals will defeat the Baltimore Ravens. Next up, we got the Dallas Cowboys take on the Carolina Panthers. I'm gonna take Dak Prescott, and the Dallas Cowboys will defeat Carolina Panthers. We'll move on. Next up, the New York Giants take on Detroit Lions. So, I'm gonna take Jared Goff defeats New York Giants as Detroit Lions will victory over New York Giants as Detroit Lions won the first playoff victory in over a decade in 1991. And finally, the Minnesota Vikings take on the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm gonna take Jalen Hurts will defeat Minnesota Vikings as the Eagles move on for the NFC divisional round. And now it's time for divisional round. Divisional round, we got the rematch, or we got the two features, the two divisional round rematch. Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals. I'm gonna go. Joe Burrow will beat the Buffalo Bills, and it was the rematch of Damar Hamlin collapse due to the cardiac arrest. So I'm gonna take the Bengals will win. Joe Burrow will victory over Buffalo Bills. So I'm gonna take the Buffalo Bills will win. No, so sorry. Cincinnati Bengals will win and will move on to the AFC Championship. Next up, we got the marquee matchups this year. The AFC Divisional Round featuring the New York Jets take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Great matchup between the Aaron Rodgers take on Patrick Mahomes. So I'm gonna go. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs will defeat New York Jets and move on to the AFC Divisional Round. Next up, we got Detroit Lions take on the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm gonna take Jalen Hurts with the Philadelphia Eagles will win over Detroit Lions. So I'm gonna go. The Eagles will make it back. Will back the AFC Championship. Now we will face the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. Another rematch in the NFC Divisional Round. So I'm gonna go 3 to 0, 3-0. The San Francisco 49ers will defeat the Dallas Cowboys and move on for the NFC Championship game. Now for the Conference Championship, with the four teams now: Bengals, Chiefs, Eagles, 49ers, and the first spot for the Super Bowl, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm gonna tie the series here. The Bengals Chiefs will meet in the AFC Championship again for the third time. So I'm gonna give here the first one in 2021. The Bengals beat the Chiefs in overtime, and the second one a rematch and a revenge for Kansas City Chiefs beat the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm gonna go. The Cincinnati Bengals again. We're taking 2-1 lead over Kansas City Chiefs for earner back to Super Bowl. And then the NFC Championship featuring the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. The rematch is in the NFC Championship game, while the Philadelphia Eagles winning over San Francisco 49ers. I'm not going to go against Eagles fans are ready to go. So I'm going to go. The San Francisco 49ers were back to Super Bowl again. Now, for Super Bowl 58. Super Bowl 58 between the San Francisco 49ers and the Cincinnati Bengals. Super Bowl 58, the broadcast on CBS with Jim Nash. I like to see Jim Nash. Jim Nash is very good. So, San Francisco 49ers, Cincinnati Bengals, the rematch of Super Bowl 16 and Super Bowl 23. So, I'm going to go 3-0 for the fans. San Francisco, we're going to win. I'm going to win the Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers to win the Super Bowl. As the San Francisco 49ers win the Super Bowl 58, here's my final bracket. Good San Francisco 49ers win the Super Bowl as Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey will win his first Super Bowl ring, and the Super Bowl champion goes to San Francisco 49ers for the first time. It was a 1994 who they beat Los Angeles Chargers, aka the San Diego Chargers. And now it's time to draft order. Draft order, we have the number 1 pick, Arizona Cardinals. Houston, Texas, the 2nd pick. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the 3rd pick. Browns, Broncos, Commanders, Falcons are 4 and 8. And now the top 10, we got Seahawks and Raiders. So now that's it for now. We wrapping things up. The 2023 NFL season predictions. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. In the last video, I was intro the 2016 Game 3 between the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. You see, check the video link out. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Coming soon, the Week 1 predictions will start either August or September. Good night, everyone, and thanks for watching. Wow, they have 42 minutes. I'm gonna take 42 minutes. So that's it for now. Sign off and peace out. We're gonna start Week 1 predictions. Will begin either August or September. Good night, everyone.